Welcome, divine mandate. Some people don't realize they've lost a blessing until they have to pay full price for something they used to get for free. That kind of truth hurts more the moment you leave. Chosen one, you became a living reminder in someone's life. Whether you know it or not, they can't erase it, replace it, or forget it. When you gave them that last checkmate, calm, precise, and without any drama, it changed them, not just in terms of emotions, but also in terms of the mind. That move didn't just end the chapter, it showed the whole story. Psychologists agree on this. People are more likely to obsess over the person who outsmarted them than the person who hurt them. That means that the real reason they can't forget you has nothing to do with love, nostalgia, or guilt. It's because you're leaving broken identity they were trying so hard to protect. You weren't supposed to leave with your dignity, pace, and gut feeling still intact. You weren't supposed to leave like someone who saw the trap, solved the puzzle, and made the board cleaner than it was when you got there. But you did, and now their mind is playing the moment over and over again, like a broken DVD player from 2006 that won't stop playing. In the meantime, you're going about your day, drinking water, and not even thinking about them. Right now, their face would be the face of irony. The truth is that your presence made them uncomfortable, but your absence shows their true selves. And nothing haunts a person more than losing someone who really understood them, but still chose to leave without saying anything, without yelling, or throwing shade. Just pure, clean checkmate energy. That's not a normal ending. That's why they can move. You didn't just leave, you ended the story they were counting on. So tonight, we're going to talk a lot about why they can't forget you, why your checkmate still gets to them, and why your name sticks in their mind like a notification they can't get rid of. And believe me, by the time this is over, you'll see why your absence is more powerful than their whole presence ever was. First, you broke the illusion that they were the smarter one. This point is more important than most people think, because it wasn't just a disagreement or a misunderstanding. It was a failure of the ego. They thought they knew everything about you when they came into your life. They thought they were in charge, the one who was in charge of everything, and the one who was telling the story. They thought you were easy to read, soft, and easy to move around. They thought you would always react the same way, believe every excuse, and fall for the same old tricks. They felt powerful because they thought they were smarter than you. Then came the change, the one thing that broke the whole illusion in half. You didn't argue, you didn't explain, and you didn't tell everyone how much you've grown. You just started to see everything clearly. And after you saw it, you moved in a different way. That was the start of their problems. They felt threatened when you answered them clearly and calmly instead of getting confused. Their trick stopped working when you stopped reacting emotionally. And when you finally left with that quiet confidence, that's when the truth hit them. They weren't as good at planning as they thought they were. They were just very loud. What really scares them is that you figured out what they were up to long before they knew you were watching them. You saw through every lie, every manipulation, and every hidden motive. But instead of blowing up, you changed. That kind of intelligence is hard to find. And people who act on their ego don't know how to deal with it. Their mind keeps going over your exit like a puzzle that needs to be solved. How did you figure them out? How did you stay calm? How did you beat them without them even knowing? These questions are bothering them more than anything else, because they never thought you would be the one who knew how to play the whole game. They can build the illusion back up now that it's gone. When they think of you, they remember the time they realized they weren't the smartest person in the room. And that kind of truth hurts a proud person more than anything else. You didn't just leave, you showed them their weakness without saying a word. That will always be in their minds. Number 2. You grew up and changed from the person that built their power around. The hardest thing for them to accept isn't that you left. It's that you left in a way that made you stronger, smarter, and untouchable, which they never expected. For years, they relied on a version of you that was smaller, unsure, and easy to change. That version fit perfectly with the story they were telling themselves, that they were in charge, that they could make things work out for them, and that you would stay the same. It wasn't just a feeling that they were in charge of you. They thought the old you would never break free, and that's what it was built on. But growth doesn't need to ask for permission. Growth doesn't make deals. Growth comes quietly and without stopping, and it changes everything it touches. When you changed, Everything they used to keep control fell apart. The tricks that worked before didn't work anymore. The tricks that used to work on you don't work anymore. Their ideas about how you would react, what your limits were, and how much you could take all became useless. You didn't just leave their story, you broke it. And that's scary for anyone who liked keeping you in check. They can't forget you because they now live in a world where the person they thought they knew is gone for good, and there's no way to bring them back. What makes this haunting is how clearly you moved forward. You didn't get angry, and you didn't beg for attention. You just changed over time. Every choice you made and every step you took was in line with a stronger version of yourself. And because you did it with honesty, confidence, and calmness, it makes their failure stand out even more. Number 3. You showed who they are without giving away their secrets. It's powerful to leave someone completely open, without ever raising your voice or telling the world about their flaws. You didn't have to make a scene, accuse someone, or confront them. You were just the version of yourself that saw things clearly, acted on purpose, and didn't get involved in their chaos. Every time you set a limit or made a move, you were showing them who they really were. The scary part for them is that they can't use excuses anymore, because you didn't point out the evidence. They showed it off themselves. You were the only one who could see their betrayal, manipulation, selfishness, or cruelty. What makes this unforgettable and haunt them is that you didn't leave because of drama or revenge. You didn't have to tell anyone what they did or call them out in front of everyone. You just walked away, and in that space, their true self was bare. People around them, and even they themselves, could see the cracks they were trying so hard to hide. Knowing the truth about yourself, knowing that someone else saw it, and not being able to change it is worse than fighting. They can't erase their reflection you left behind, because it wasn't painted with anger or exaggeration. Your awareness, restraint, and honesty shaped it. They still think about the times they didn't believe in you. Even though you're not here anymore, they remember how calm your eyes were, how carefully you made your choices, and how you never had to show them to make a point. Every day, every time they talk to someone, they remember what they did while you were there. And that truth doesn't stop. You didn't have to pull them into the light. They walked into the light that was already there. That's why they can't stop thinking about you. You didn't just go. You showed them in their most pure form. And some things you learn never go away. 4. You weren't feeling anything. You were exact. And people are scared of accuracy. Most people don't get that there's a kind of power in moving with calculated calm. They thought there would be drama, chaos, and reactions. They thought you would copy their energy, trip when they pushed you, or let your anger or frustration get in the way of your judgment. Instead, you worked with accuracy. You meant everything you said, did, and chose. There was no overreaction, no wasted energy, and no sudden outbursts of anger. People who like to manipulate or play power games don't like the kind of control, because it stops them from seeing you struggle or fail. People who try to manipulate others use reactions like loud noises, quick decisions, or emotional weaknesses. They need you to give them that power so they can feel like they are in charge. But you didn't give them anything. You didn't fall for their tricks, let their chaos control what you did, or give them the emotional weapons they needed. That made them confused, angry, and, most importantly, vulnerable. Precision doesn't just stop manipulation, it makes it stand out. Every mistake they tried to make stands out clearly against your cool, calm demeanor. And the difference haunts them because it reminds them that you are always 3 steps ahead, watching, thinking, and planning. People aren't scared of anger or revenge. It's control that looks like stillness. They can't read you, guess what you're going to do next, or figure out how to throw you off balance. They thought they were the players, but you showed them that you were the one who made the plans. And they don't like that strategy. Doesn't need noise, ego, or extra drama. They leave your presence knowing they lost before the game even started, but they can't say when, how, or why. That doubt stays with them. You weren't loud. You weren't quick to react. They couldn't chase or beat you like a storm. You were precise, planned, and unshakable. And that's why they can't stop thinking about you. They can keep playing the scene over and over, trying to figure out how you moved with such ease while they struggled. And every time you see the replay, it makes you realize even more how wrong they were about you. 5. You made them realize that loyalty isn't always there. They thought you would always be there, no matter how badly they treated you, how many lines they crossed, or how much they took for granted. They believed that your loyalty was unending, that your patience would never run out, and that you would always be there for them. It was both a comfort and a power play for them. They could push the limits and still know you'd be there for them. But you showed them they were wrong. It wasn't loud when you finally drew the line. It wasn't mean. There wasn't much drama. You just stopped letting them think they could get away with it. You didn't talk about it. You didn't say sorry for your standards. You just stopped letting their actions affect your peace or your presence. That moment of clarity was hard for them. It showed that loyalty isn't always a good thing. It is sacred, conditional, and not to be used for personal gain. Not only did they miss you, but they also miss you because you left without getting revenge and showed them the effect of their actions. You were the living proof that loyalty can be worn out, stretched, and finally exhausted. Every day, they play your exit over and over again, along with the calm certainty that came with it. They remember how easy it was for you to leave and how dignified you were. And it reminds them that they can't control loyalty. They can't buy it, make it happen, or think it will always be there. They know you weren't mad. They were the cause of the problem. Your leaving wasn't a punishment. It was a matter of principle. And principles make a lasting impression. Every time they tried to get back what they lost and fail, it only proves the same thing. You had a limit, and they went over it. They can't stop thinking about how strong you are, how much you respect yourself, and the quiet power that comes from not putting up with disrespect. They can't forget that they lost as soon as they thought loyalty was guaranteed, and that loss stays in their minds long after you've left. Number 6. You showed them what their life would be like without the one person who really got them. Most people live their lives with a lot of noise, distractions, and shallow connections. They think they have relationships, but what they really have are placeholders, people who are easy to get along with, who make them happy, or who are only there when they need them. Then you show up, fully present, fully aware, and fully understanding. You can see their patterns, fears, and needs that they don't say out loud. You see the layers they keep from everyone else. You match their energy in important ways. You answer in a way that makes sense, and you give them the rare chance to be known, not just seen or tolerated, but really understood. The emptiness is clear and immediate when you leave. They miss more than just a friend. They don't have a mirror. They miss someone who could tell what they were thinking without them saying anything. Someone who could guess how they were feeling and be there for them without judging them. Someone who could bring order to the chaos that their own ego often makes worse. All of a sudden, everyone they depended on seems shallow, repetitive, and pointless. The silence that follows your leaving is deafening because it's not empty. They know what they had and how they wasted it. What bothers them the most is that you didn't leave in a fit of rage or a storm of drama. You just disappeared in a way that made the difference between how they usually interact with you and how deep you made their life even bigger. They tried to fill this space with new people, distractions, or empty experiences, but none of it works because it doesn't match the clarity, understanding, and alignment they had with you. They remember times when your words surprised them, when your presence mattered more than anything else, and when your insight made a difference. That memory becomes a ghost that won't go away. You weren't just a person in their life. They were in yours for a while, and when you leave, they have to face the fact that they lost someone who really saw them and responded to it with wisdom, patience, and presence. That understanding doesn't go away. It stays. Every day, it reminds them that they can't get back what you gave them for free. And that's why they will always remember you. Number 7. You broke the spell of familiarity that they thought would keep you together forever. People like to depend on patterns, routines, and the fact that they can count on other people because it makes them feel safe and in charge. They think that history is stronger than borders, that being familiar with someone will always keep you in place, and that years of shared experiences automatically mean loyalty is unbreakable. They thought you would stay and that your presence was something they could use to their advantage without any problems. But they didn't think about the fact that you can see past habit, convenience, and the false sense of security that comes from doing the same thing over and over. It wasn't just a physical exit when you left. They were taking apart the story they relied on. You showed that history doesn't mean ownership. That time spent together doesn't mean permanence. And that emotional familiarity doesn't mean anything when the soul has changed. They were used to seeing you in a certain way, and in that version, they were in charge. They expected you to react, obey, and be there, all in line with the old rhythm they were used to. But you didn't just change the beat. They couldn't reach you anymore because you became a completely new frequency. They didn't even know you existed until you were fully realized. The fact that they never deserved to be confident in forever is what haunts them. They thought that being exposed to the same thing over and over could tie you down. That routine could make you blind. And that comfort could keep you in a cage. But you didn't want to be trapped by what you knew. You went beyond what they thought was possible. What they thought was just a pattern. And what they thought were the chains that would never break. It's not just the memory of you that comes to mind when they think of you. They can't stop thinking about how they lost someone who saw how predictable they were and still chose not to be. The rules changed when you left. You didn't just leave. You broke the spell. That's why they will always remember you. No matter how hard they try to recreate the past, or how many new people come into their life, they will never be able to replace the awareness, clarity, and freedom you had. You broke their trust, and that kind of awakening doesn't go away. It stays. 8. You didn't cut them off. Life took away their ability to hear your frequency. The hardest truth for them to face is that things didn't end with a big fight or a dramatic breakup. You just moved out of their reach. You didn't have to tell them you were leaving, threaten them, or make noise. Your energy, clarity, and growth made a boundary so clear that they naturally stopped being in sync with you. Life itself made the distance. That is what makes your absence so scary. They can't just text, call, or trick their way back in. They can't go back to old ways or bring back what used to be because the you they knew is no longer there. And they can't get to the frequency you work on now. They can keep playing the past over and over, worry about what went wrong, and try to make the version of you that they used to control. But none of it works. You didn't leave them because you were angry. You really left them. And reality has a way of teaching the most difficult lessons. Every time they try to get back what they lost, it only proves that they are no longer in your orbit. That small change, that hidden distance, is stronger than any fight, argument, or apology. It's exact, silent, and lasting. What makes this unforgettable is that they can feel it even when they're not looking for it. They feel your absence like a vibration that no one else can match. Like a song that their ears have forgotten how to hear. They see how your influence is still felt in the lives of those around you, in the choices they wish they had made, and in how people react to you when you're not there. Every time they see each other, they are reminded of the gap they made, and every day they spend trying to get to you only makes it clearer that your energy is no longer theirs to control. You didn't have to stop them. It was life that did it for you. They can't be in the space you made by raising, clearing, and changing. And that's why they'll always remember you. The truth is that they lost access to someone they can't control, influence, or guess anymore. And that kind of permanent absence leaves a mark that no apology or action can erase. Number 9. You were nicer to them than they deserved. And now they'll always have to live with that. One of the things that will stick with them the most is not that you left. It's how you treated them when you were still there. You didn't go down to their level. You didn't copy their bad behavior. You didn't get back at them in a petty way or lose your cool. You treated them with honesty, calmness, and respect, even when they didn't deserve it. That kind of behavior sticks with a person because it sets a standard they can't reach and a memory they can't get rid of. They are always comparing how you handled things to how you handled them. And every time they don't live up to their standards, it eats away at them. What makes this so scary is that your kindness didn't make you weak. It was power. You weren't being nice to get what you wanted or avoid a fight. You were in charge, on purpose, and consistent. You showed that being mature doesn't mean lowering your standards, that understanding doesn't mean making excuses, and that being calm doesn't mean lowering your worth to someone else's level. Every time they relive the moment, they are reminded that they were treated better than they deserved, and that recognition hurts because it's a mirror they can't ignore. Even now, long after you've left, every time they try to reconnect with someone or change someone's mind, they still feel like you're there. They'll always remember how you handled things, how you spoke and acted, and how thoughtful and caring you were. They see it in how other people react to you, how easily you go about your day, and how different you are from the way they try to control you. They are always reminded that someone once made them feel better without asking, judging, or putting themselves in danger, and they can never do it again. You didn't just leave them. You set a standard. They can't escape the fact that every interaction, every conversation, and every small act of respect or understanding is now a permanent comparison. That's why they can never forget you. You became the standard they couldn't meet, and no amount of time, people, or apologies will change that. 10. You showed that their betrayal didn't break you. It made you stronger. Taking something that was meant to break you and using it to make you stronger is a kind of power. They thought that lying, manipulating, or betraying you would leave you broken, lost, or dependent. They thought that hurting you would make you weaker, make you doubt yourself, or keep you under their control. But you didn't just get through what they did. You learned from it. Every betrayal, insult, and planned attack on you became fuel. You didn't let their actions bring you down. Instead, you used them to sharpen your vision, strengthen your boundaries, and raise your whole presence. They will never forget this because they were expecting drama, tears, or self-pity. Instead, they met someone who was unshakable, who carried themselves with clarity and dignity, and who quietly turned pain into strategy. Their betrayal, which was supposed to be the main part of your story, was what made you stronger. That change hurts them mentally, because it shows that their power was never real. They thought it was, because you let them see a side of you that they thought they could control. Even now, they think back on their attempts to hurt you, only to realize that each one failed in the most embarrassing way. It didn't make you weaker, it made you unstoppable. The very things they thought would break you down made you stronger and more independent. They think about it every day and have to face the truth that you turned hardship into mastery, betrayal into strategy, and challenge into victory. You didn't just live through their attempts. You put on the strength they tried to take from you. That's why they'll always remember you. They wanted to break you, but instead they showed how strong you were. Every time I think about how they betrayed me, I remember how wrong they were. You didn't just leave, you got better, and that will always bother them. Number 11, you didn't lose them. They lost the chance to meet someone they will never meet again. This is the truth that keeps them up at night. Even if they don't want to admit it, they thought they had you under control, that they could take you for granted, and that they could fix or replace you if you weren't there. They didn't get that you were never theirs to own. You were never a prize, a consolation, or something to own. You were a one-of-a-kind force, a unique mix of awareness, strength, and energy that can't be copied. It wasn't just a physical distance when you walked away. They lost a frequency, a level of presence, and a depth of understanding that can't be replaced. What bothers them the most is that they will never get that back. They can't recreate what they had with you because they were never in sync with the real you. They only knew what you let them see, and that version was amazing, one of a kind, and very real. You didn't just disappear. You became a standard they could never meet, a goal they could never reach, and a ghost of authenticity in a world full of imitation. They are even more angry because they know that your life is still going on and moving forward, while theirs feels like it's stuck on pause. They try to get back what they lost, but it's not just about missing someone. It's about missing the alignment, the clarity, the wisdom, and the presence that only you could bring. There is no new connection, no new friend, no apology or gesture that can bring back the energy you had, the insight you shared, or the rare quality of understanding that made being around you more than just company. It was a lesson, a mirror, and a spark. They keep going over moments in their heads to figure out when it all went wrong. And every time they do, they learn the truth. They didn't lose you. You weren't being the role they tried to put you in. They lost the chance to see someone who only comes once in a lifetime, someone they will never see again. And that's why they will always remember you. Number 12. You broke the pattern they were used to. They loved patterns, knowing how people would react, and doing the same things over and over again to feel in control. They thought that life with you was a cycle that they could start over at any time. They could make the same mistakes, push the limits, change the story, and expect you to react the same way. They thought you would let the cycle go on because it had always gone on before. But you didn't. You didn't take part in the loop that they were counting on. That made everything different. You weren't just leaving when you left. They thought the story would go on forever, but this was the end. What scares them is the sudden realization that the safety net they thought they had never really existed. You didn't play their game, so every excuse they made, every trick they used, and every attempt to go back to the old ways is now useless. You messed up the rhythm they needed. You showed them that comfort and repetition aren't enough to keep someone who has grown, changed, and realized their worth. There was no need to yell, argue, or fight. They only noticed the change when they tried to go back to their old ways and found the space empty. Your leaving made them face a truth they couldn't face when you were there. That accountability is not optional, that cycles have limits, and that they could never control your presence. Without a single dramatic scene, all of the comfort of manipulation, the familiarity of predictability, and that illusion of dominance were taken away. They feel empty now, like there's a hole in their lives that reminds them every day that the rules have changed and that you are no longer part of the story they wanted to tell again. They can't stop thinking about how clear things became when you left. Your absence broke down their hopes, took away the scripts they relied on, and made them face a truth they had been ignoring. The cycle they were counting on was broken for good. They can't forget you because they still remember what happened. You didn't just leave. You ended a pattern they assumed would never end, and nothing they do can ever bring it back. Number 13, not being there showed how loud their internal chaos really is. When you were around, your presence was a stabilizer. You brought clarity, calm, and a sense of order that softened the storms in their life, often without them realizing it. They leaned on that stability, mistaking it for something permanent, something guaranteed. They didn't see it as a reflection of your strength. They saw it as something they could take for granted. And then you left. You didn't need to create drama or call out their flaws. You simply withdrew. And suddenly, the chaos they'd been ignoring became impossible to hide. Your absence revealed the noise they had been avoiding, the insecurity, the guilt, the confusion, the ego-driven decisions that no one was there to temper. Every thought, every reaction, and every unbalanced choice became louder in the silence you left behind. They thought they were managing life, but without you, it became painfully clear how messy, unstable, and reactive their world truly was. And that realization is terrifying because it's inescapable. They can't fix it by reaching out to you, by explaining themselves, or by attempting to manipulate circumstances. They only see their own chaos in the mirror. What haunts them is that they can still feel your presence in the memory of your calm, your clarity, and your quiet strength. It reminds them daily of how they relied on you, without appreciating the discipline and intention you carried. Every failure, every impulsive decision, every loud argument or overreaction now stands in stark contrast to what life felt like when you were there. They're stuck replaying the moment when your energy balanced theirs and comparing it to the disarray they now face alone. You didn't just leave a space, you exposed a truth they couldn't escape. The calm they mistook for weakness was your power, and without it, they are forced to confront the storm they never controlled. They can never forget you, because your absence didn't just remove you from their life. It amplified their internal chaos in ways that nothing else can. And that revelation lingers relentlessly, haunting them every day. Number 14. You delivered a checkmate because you understood their game better than they did. The reason they can't forget you is simple. You saw the entire board while they were still moving pieces blindly. They believed they were the strategist, the one in control, the one who understood how every interaction, every word, and every action would unfold. But you weren't playing by their rules. You were observing, calculating, and anticipating moves they didn't even realize they were making. By the time they realized the scope of your awareness, the game was already over. You didn't just outmaneuver them. You exposed the limitations of their strategy without raising your voice, without needing to prove anything, without giving them a single hint that you were 10 steps ahead. That kind of precision is unforgettable. They replayed the interactions endlessly, trying to figure out the moment they lost. And every memory is a reminder that they underestimated you completely. They thought they were the player, but you were the one controlling the narrative. Every manipulation, every attempt to influence or deceive fell flat, because you understood not just the immediate move, but the long-term consequences of every choice they made. You weren't reacting, you were orchestrating, and the silence of your departure was the final stroke of genius they couldn't undo. What haunts them isn't just that they lost, It's that they lost in a way that made them appear foolish, weak, and unprepared. They can't forget the realization that someone they thought they could predict, control, or understand was operating on a level they couldn't reach. That checkmate wasn't loud or theatrical. It was quiet, absolute, and irreversible. They keep playing the game in their heads, looking for the mistake they made, the strategy they missed, or the time they could have won. And every time they try, they are reminded that they never had the upper hand. You didn't just go. They left a board that you had already mastered. That's why they can never forget you. You are more than just a part of their story. You rewrote it, finished it, and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that knowing the game is worth much more than playing it with a big head. Their loss is permanent, and your checkmate is unforgettable. The reality is this: you're unforgettable because you operate on a level that cannot be copied, controlled, or contained. Every step you took, every boundary you enforced, and every quiet act of awareness and strength left an imprint so deep that it lingers in the minds of those who once underestimated you. You shattered illusions, outgrew limitations, revealed hidden truths, and delivered a checkmate so precise that no apology, explanation, or manipulation could ever undo it. They can replay moments, second-guess decisions, and search for answers, but the truth is undeniable. Your presence, your energy, and your clarity left a mark they will carry forever. You weren't just someone they encountered. You were the reflection they couldn't hide from, the challenge they couldn't solve, and the standard they could never reach. You exposed their patterns without raising your voice, elevated yourself without making it about them, and left in a way that amplified your power rather than their regrets, their obsession with the past, their attempts to reclaim what they lost, and their constant replaying of your presence are proof of one undeniable fact: they underestimated your vision, your strength, and your ability to move through life with precision. And because you acted from integrity, strategy, and self-respect, their memory of you isn't painful. They are haunted, not by what you did, but by the truth you revealed about them. The mark you leave isn't temporary. The lessons, the awareness, the benchmarks, and the undeniable energy you carried will remain in their mind long after any drama has faded. You set a standard that cannot be lowered, a presence that cannot be replaced, and a reality that they must face every day. You cannot be forgotten. If this message resonates with you and you recognize the power you carry, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more truths that hit deeper than surface-level advice. Like this video to honor the strength you hold. Comment to share your story and experiences, and share it with those who need to see it. The energy you invest in understanding and claiming your power is the energy that will define your legacy. And together, we're here to amplify it. God bless you.